Hi, I'm Laura Rolfe, host of Powered by Franchising. I am thrilled to welcome as my very special guest today, Manny Guzman, who is the Director of Franchise Development for Waxxpot. And so welcome to the show, Manny.
Thanks for having me.
So wanted to chat a little bit with you today. You've been in franchising for a while. Can you share a little bit about your background and how you got into franchising a few years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you say a while, it makes me feel old. So I'll take that with hopefully there's some maturity to that. But started in franchising about 3 years ago. Started off at Exponential Fitness, specifically with the brand Pure Bar. So I got my start there in franchising. I was the regional and national sales manager. So handling all things sales and operations. And boy, was that a wild experience. My background before that, I grew up in the gym industry. So used to run big box gyms. So 24-hour fitness was there for over a decade. So naturally, it led me to, my first step in franchise being a health and wellness brand. And fast forward 2 years down the road, I ended up on the development side here. Franchising is a small world, and especially on development, everyone seems to know everybody. And I guess when you go to enough of these conferences, you get to know everyone on an intimate level. And so, had a friend refer me to someone in the space, specifically at Franchise Fastlane. Had a ton of conversation over about a year. And when the time felt right and made sense for both sides, I found myself at Fastlane, and I started off on the brand The Exercise Coach. So for some reason, it's been hard for me to get out of fitness, but finally got my chance here with Waxxpot, being a beauty brand. So in my mind, still health and wellness. I like people helping people feel good. So here we are.
Yes, well, and you're in the business of helping everybody feel great about themselves with smoother skin at Waxxpot. So, love it that you're still you're helping people enhance their how they feel about themselves. So, tell us a little bit about Waxxpot. What's the founder's story, and what tell us a little bit about the history of Waxxpot.
Yeah, so great history. So Waxpot, I like to tell people it's new to franchising, but it's not new to the market. So started back in 2014. Our founder and CEO Daniel Sod had his start. I will say prior to Waxpot, he actually owned Salon Lofts. I'm sorry, there's so many of them, I get them confused. Salon Lofts. So he built that corporate and had an opportunity to get into the waxing space. Found Waxpot, fell in love with it, thought it was a great opportunity to tap into a fragmented market, and then took off to the races. So he started building it corporately because that's what he did and wanted to make sure the model worked. And in 2020, he dabbled his feet in franchising and realized it's a bigger beast than most people think, right? And so fast forward to about a year and a half ago, he got connected with a few people who made the recommendation that he connect with someone that's very familiar with franchising, and that led him to our president and now COO Mike Abramson, who took over earlier this year. Who's been around franchising a lot longer than me, so that makes me feel a little bit younger. But he's been a phenomenal resource for not only Daniel and the brand, so we're very excited for what's to come here. The biggest thing here with Waxpot, our bread and butter is going to be our soft wax. So industry standard is hard wax. We're using soft and hard. It's a lot smoother and gentler on the skin. Some very nice organic benefits to it. And so we're very excited to tap into a very, very high consumer demand market.
Well, and Waxpot is for men and women, anybody really wanting smoother, softer skin. And I like that you use the soft wax that is much gentler on the skin. And I also like the history of Waxpot with 11 years of experience behind the brand. It is set to really have phenomenal growth nationwide in what is projected to be a $18.4 billion, yes, that's with a B, industry by 2033. So right now it's a $10.2 billion industry and just growing. So definitely love this brand. So tell us a little bit about the investment level and some of the ideal franchises that you have currently.
Yeah, so a pretty low investment, for my opinion. Like I said, I grew up in the fitness space, and a lot of brick and mortar brands cost a good amount, usually around $500,000 to build them out. And so we have around a 233,000 to 447,000 investment, give or take, depending on your market. So on average, anywhere between 300, 350. And what I like most about that and what I learned very quickly was the margins. And so the financials are very strong in this space. And so I always love to highlight our 24 to 39% margins that 75% of our salons are experiencing, that are all disclosed in Item 19. So it's a very lucrative, very profitable business for a minimal investment. And so that's the biggest thing that stands out to me. And once again, this is a very high consumer demand market. Everyone knows what waxing is, right? And so you never have to go into a market and have to educate the consumers on what we're doing, right? Everyone knows what we are. And to your point earlier, we're attracting both women and men, right? So we like to say a place for everybody and everybody. And we lived tried and true to that. So when we think about an ideal franchisee, we think multi-unit ownership, right? So anyone that currently owns and operates an existing brand similar to our space. I think anyone that owns a fitness concept, this aligns very nicely. You'll find that we're going to put most of our locations near other boutique studios, right? So Pure Barre, for example, Orange Theories, Club Pilates, they have our target demographic, so we partner really well with them. And we also think that those franchisees would make very great franchise partners for Waxxpot. Anyone that's going to really come in and take a leadership perspective. This is a brand where you don't have to necessarily be passionate about what we're doing here. It's you definitely want to be passionate about business ownership and leadership, right? We often hear all the time, which I think is an often too often thrown around word here, semi-absentee, and I think that means something different for everybody. But when you want to run that executive model play, you have to put a manager in place, right? And even better, our Item 19 is going to showcase what that looks like to have managers in place and still drive some very great profitability.
And you want your franchisees to be the CEO, so they're still driving their business, managing the manager as well as the KPIs, very involved in the oversight of the business. You don't ever, I think, I recommend to anybody that I work with who's looking at franchise business ownership. Some people want completely hands-off type of ownership, but those that are involved, 25% greater profitability if they don't take their eye off the ball and they're involved in their business. I'm sure that you feel some similar ways, but yes, semi-absentee or semi-involved ownership is a possibility with Waxxpot.
That's a really great stat that you just pulled out, right? And I always tell folks, like, you get out of it what you put into it, right? And my perspective is maybe a little biased and different because I came from operations. And so I spent 2 years every day talking with franchisees and their teams, right? So I know the ins and outs that go into it. And honestly, half the time I felt just like a therapist, right? Because most of the times franchise partners just need a vent, right? The play is the play. It's a built out model for a reason, but business ownership is hard. Right. And so it takes a strong willed individual to get through the ups and the downs. But ultimately, it's a very successful and very, we'll call it lucrative opportunity for the right mindset.
Tell us a couple of profiles, some of your successful franchisees with Waxxpot. Who are they?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now we have 9 franchise partners. So 24 open locations, 9 of them are franchised. And it's a wide range, so it shows their diversity, right? So we have a multi-unit, multi-brand owner. So out in the Cincinnati market, owns the whole territory, and he's a multi-unit brand owner for Del Taco. So owns the whole state of Ohio for Del Taco, which that right there should tell you you don't have to want to go ahead and wax people yourself to get into the business. We have a small business banker, a paralegal, a speech pathologist, and I still don't know what that is, but if you're a speech pathologist, we'll take you. So we have a wide range of personalities that fit into our system, and I think once again that speaks to this is just a very simple business model. It makes a lot of sense. It doesn't take a whole lot of industry experience to run it. It just takes some passion around building a business.
So anybody looking at Waxxpot, part of the discovery process is they're going to have conversations with you. They're going to review the franchise disclosure document, and then always my favorite part of the whole discovery process is that validation piece. What are candidates who are looking at Waxxpot going to hear through the validation process, Manny?
All great things, hopefully about me. But no, all jokes aside, our validation is very strong, and I think that's really what's going to set us up for major success here over the next few months. As we just launched this brand a few months ago in Fastlane, so we're very excited. But what franchise candidates are going to hear, they're going to hear about the margins, and most importantly, they're going to hear about the new leadership team that took over, right? So once again, this isn't a brand new brand. It's been around since 2014, but things have changed since, right? And I think that's important, especially when you look at a franchise model. I think it's on the leadership team to continue to adapt and grow as the business grows. And so, since taking over, Mike has done a phenomenal job of building out the leadership team around him. That's the only way you get to national growth is by having a very solid franchisor team. And so, since he took over the helm, he immediately brought on a new chief marketing officer, Eric, who's done great work with the brand. Since taking over, he's reduced the cost of acquisition by 60%. We just brought over Adam Pennington from Exponential Fitness, a great background in real estate and construction. He's now our chief revenue officer. And so, brick and mortar is tricky for a lot of people because not a whole lot of people have experience in real estate, and that could be very scary. But once you meet Adam, you realize you're in very, very good hands, has a ton of relationships, has done like over 1,800 leases in the past 5 years, right? So he's a veteran. We just brought over Jenna Mater, director of guest experience and training. She's been in the industry for over 16 years and was actually at European Wax Center for a handful of years as a national trainer. So this is what's highlighted by franchise partners because they've seen the change in the short time that this team's taken over. And so that's basically what's getting everyone excited, right? I think once again, the financials speak for themselves and the business itself, the product and service, everyone wants it, everyone needs it. And so once you meet the team, I think that's just it there and everyone's really excited about it.
Yeah, Franchise Fastlane knows how to help franchisees get in that fast lane and start from ground zero and speed up and get their studio open and start making a profit quickly. Love the team that you have built around you. Love that anytime you're looking at a brick and mortar franchise, it's important to have an experienced real estate team behind you. And with 1,800 leases, my goodness, like you have a lot of experience in making as a team in helping
Right.
franchisees get off to a solid start. And that lease negotiation is kind of at the ground zero. So what's the footprint for Waxxpot in general, and how many employees do you typically need to get started?
Yeah, so very small footprint, 12 to 1,600 square feet. And you're going to start with 4 to 6 wax specialists. Every location is going to have 4 to 6 treatment rooms. And so 4 to 6 wax specialists to start. And as you scale, you'll probably get to, somewhere around 10 or 12. This is a schedule-based business, right? So meaning that the more wax specialists we have available, the more feet you can put through the door. 1 to 2 front desks to start. You'll find that this is a very simple operations model. And most people book themselves. And then you have your store manager. So, not a whole lot that goes into it.
So is this technology based? If I can go online and I can, book my appointment, and is it a recurring membership model as well?
Tech-based for sure. So you can book yourself online in probably under a minute, whether it's your first time or you're a be back customer. We have some other technology on the back end that's for operations purposes, right? So we're partnering with and everyone has some sort of AI now, right? And so we have to jump on the bandwagon there, and we're using some AI analytics to help lower the cost of marketing. So phenomenal resource there. And I'm sorry, your what was the other
So is
part
it
you
a
asked?
membership model?
Oh, membership. Yeah, correct. So not a true membership-based model. We offer what's called a wax pack, so people can pay for their services up front, and then we allow them to pay like a subscription. And so there's membership's a little tricky to run in beauty, right? Because it's hard for a lot of folks to stay consistent on that. And so it's one of those things, if they're not using their service, they're probably going to want a refund. So we want to avoid that at all costs. But it's something that is constantly being looked at and how we could implement that. from a franchisor level. So not truly membership based, but as close as you can get without being membership.
Excellent. Yeah, because I know if I'm getting ready to go on a vacation, I might want a bikini waxed or Brazilian, but I
Right.
always need to have my eyebrows done.
Always gotta have. So it's funny, and I usually kick off with this. So I believe in using your product, and that's why I've been so lucky to be in health and wellness and fitness in general. But I've actually been getting my eyebrows done for 15 years. My mom made me do it for my senior high school pictures. I
Hmm.
was totally against it. Went into a nail salon, right? Because there wasn't a whole lot of big brands around at the time, and I felt so uncomfortable. Took my pictures, got some really great feedback from some friends, and that have not stopped since. And I feel like since then, there's been more men that have done it. And it's most men are gonna get their eyebrows done, right? Versus like most other body parts. But what you don't realize, like when I go maybe a few weeks without getting them done, I thought, oh man, these look horrible, right? So it's a small, simple fix. So guys, if you're out there, you gotta try it. It's a small fix for I think a big result. So
Well, and I've got to say, millennials, men and women in that generation, love to get waxing done. So I have a son and a
yeah,
daughter, 28 and 29, and both use waxing services. Hope I
yeah.
don't embarrass John. He probably isn't listening, but yeah, he not only gets his eyebrows done like you because for his high school pictures he needed good waxing done, but also for
Right.
his professional headshots now that he's an
Well, there
adult,
you go.
and he just likes smooth skin.
Well,
So does my
yeah, and
daughter.
most people were on Zoom
Hmm.
now, right? And so this is from the waist up. This is your money maker, and so why not invest? And it's not like we're charging hundreds of thousands of dollars here, right? So we're talking,
Mhm.
15, $20 to improve your LinkedIn profile and maybe get a little bit more career opportunity.
Absolutely. What are you most excited about with the future of franchising, Manny?
Well, that's a really good question. I think, when we think about franchising as a whole, you kind of just touched on it a little bit here with millennials, right? And I fall into that category. And I think that as it becomes more mainstream, thanks to social media, more people are aware of business ownership. And for a lot of folks like myself, I'm not an innovator, so I'm not going to go out and create and make up a new product or service or things like that. But I'm an executor, right? I love building existing businesses. I like operations, and I think that's what franchising offers for a lot of people who want to be their own boss, but they're not quite sure how to start a business. And so when we use social media to highlight the benefits and the opportunity that we have here, I think it's going to continue to attract really, really great operators, right? And so what I hope happens is the space gets more competitive. And I think most people are scared of competition. And if that's the case, I tell you, business ownership is probably not for you because I don't know very many industries or brands that don't have some form of competition. And ultimately, that's what it's designed for, right? Is to continue to challenge businesses to improve, to provide a better, customer experience, a better product, a better service. And so as we continue to get more and more solid operators in place, I think it's going to really challenge brands to continue to be on their A game and innovate. And every generation goes through that. And I think for millennials, we got to experience technology before it took off and what it's like to have it, right? And so I'm that person that to get on the internet when I was younger, I had to wait for the screen to load and dial in, right? And so but now I have anxiety if I don't get an answer right away. And so I understand how quickly technology changes. And I think that's going to be a time and place where us as millennials are receptive to change. And when you put us in leadership positions, we know that we can pivot and make adjustments really quick to go drive the business. And I think, that's where franchisors will find themselves here very soon is how are we leveraging technology to make the business more efficient and ultimately more profitable for franchisees?
Excellent. Well, and Franchise Fastlane really does position themselves and their brands to pivot and to be on the cutting edge of technology and what services they offer to their franchisees who are Franchise Fastlane's customers, so that they're building opportunities for more revenue streams that benefit everybody. Um,
Yeah.
why did you join Franchise Fastlane?
Yeah. I've worked for what I would say the best brands in whatever role I was in. I think 24 Hour Fitness is a national brand. I learned a lot there. They had a great management training program, right? So taught me a lot. And then, working at Exponential Fitness, everyone knows what that is. And so I've been very privileged in my lifetime to work for very big brands. And I think what attracts me to the best in the industry is I just want to be around the best. And when you think about FSOs, franchise sales organizations, for those who don't know key terms like that or abbreviations, Fastlane was definitely the standout in that category. And the way I got introduced to Fastlane was through a few different people. And so when that happens, to me, it was a sign, right? Like, hey, there's something to it about this company. And as I do a little bit more due diligence and talk to everyone on the team, it felt like the right fit. And once again, we're just very competitive, and we like to move fast. And I like I like that what we stand for as a culture in general, and how we help support the brands. And so I just want to be a part of the best team.
Yeah, and if Waxxpot is a great fit, awesome. Give me a call. Love to connect you with Manny and help you with the discovery process. But Franchise Fastlane has a lot of different brands in the health and beauty space, in home services, in youth sports and activities. They also have roofing companies, also window coverings, a variety of different options. With over 2,000 franchises that are available for you to invest in, it's great to work with a franchise consultant. I represent about 800, including all of Franchise Fastlane's brands. Can help identify what it is your goals are. Is it being on the cutting edge of the beauty industry with Waxxpot? Is it a different brand? Let's connect to talk about that. So you've been in franchising for 3.5 years. I've been in franchising for 4 years. I did have a different career beforehand and worked in franchising with franchisors, including some pretty big national brands. So what's next for Waxxpot and for you, Manny?
Well, what's next for Waxxpot is national recognition in itself, right? So 24 open locations. We're mainly in Austin, Texas, and Columbus, Ohio, which is where the brand started. And so, when a brand comes to Fastlane, to your point earlier, we understand how to move brands very, very quickly. And the only way we can do that is if the brand does well. And so we're never going to take a brand that, doesn't have all the right boxes checked to support national growth. And so I think in the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see a Waxxpot in every major market, continuing to lead the space and innovation. That's one of the things that the corporate team will highlight as well too, is that if something makes sense, we're quick to move, quick to make an adjustment. If it provides more value and service to the consumer, we're going to make that adjustment. And ultimately, if it's the right move for the franchisee, we're going to make sure that they're able to offer top of line services and all the technology they need to run their business. And so when you have that type of mentality, I think the sky's the limit with this brand. I don't think there's any reason why why Waxxpot can't be synonymous with the European Wax Center. They're a publicly traded company, and so I often listen to their financial earnings calls. And so they have just over 1,000 locations open, and they claim to only have 5 to 8% market share. And that's kind of crazy in my mind, right? And that just goes to show you once again how many consumers there are in this market. And so there's room for that, that next competitor to compete with the European Wax Center. And I wholeheartedly believe that Waxxpot is that brand.
Well, and besides Ohio, is Waxxpot sounds like it's ready and available in most markets. Are there specific markets that you are targeting for growth this year, Manny?
Yeah, Ohio, I mean, every market we're ready to roll, but in my mind, this is a can't miss in Florida, right? You think about something that's warm all year, you're going to have people that are always going to need to get waxing services, right? So I think, the South Florida market to me is very, very hot. I'm here in Nashville, so I'm a little bit biased. I'd love to have one near me so I can, be a little bit more ingrained in the brand and do some content out of there. So I'm very excited for Nashville to grow out. We're awarding more territory in Dallas here in the next few weeks, so we're very excited about Dallas, and we seem to have more interest there. So not sure what's going on in Texas, but if you're in that market, you want to jump on, now will be the time, because we're getting a lot of looks there.
Yeah, Texas is always hot. Nashville is too. I'm kind of surprised you don't have a Waxxpot there. Nashville is usually one of the first 10 markets to be gone for a brand. So if you're in Nashville, give us a call.
Love that.
Or any other market. It sounds like particularly warmer states. And I'm here in sunny Arizona. Our fiery, warm temperatures are about gone, hopefully next week. But always a good space for waxing. Do you have any other last words or anything else you want to impart to our listeners today, Manny?
Wow, last words. Y-
Just for
what I like to
today.
say, 'cause- yeah, just for today. One thing that, someone, I love when I get asked the question is, what's one piece of advice that someone gave you that stuck with you? And to me, that piece of advice is control the controllables. And so what I try to vocalize to franchise candidates, whether they're gonna, go along with the brand I'm representing or not, I think that I'd like them to know that business ownership is a very, very lucrative opportunity. It's fun. It's a roller coaster. And in that roller coaster ride, you'll feel like at times that you're losing and you're doing everything you can. And it's important to remember that as long as you're doing everything you can that's in your control, you're on the right path. And I think there's just this misconception that, growth is this straight line up, and in reality, it's an ups and downs. But when you take a step back and look at it over a long trend line, you are experiencing growth. It's not easy. And I always share with folks, if it was easy, wouldn't everyone be doing it?
Right. I think that is excellent advice, Manny. My parents owned a Coors distributorship growing up, and yes, you're right. It was a roller coaster of ups and downs, but very gratifying as business owners. Gave them the financial freedom to take us kids on great trips. Also, they were available for any of our sporting events or plays at school. So they found the freedom in business ownership was very gratifying. But there's times where, it's a little bit, you got to pay attention to the key performance indicators or other things going on in the business. So that's one of the reasons why I love franchising so much, is because you're never alone in business. You always have a capable coach and other franchisees in your back pocket. So when things are going a little crazy, you can lean in and have the support of others as you go right back up to the fun parts of business ownership. So, well, thank you so much for joining me on the Powered by Franchising podcast, Manny, and I look forward to working with you and qualified candidates interested in Waxxpot.
Well, I appreciate you having me on.